Welcome to High Noon. It's time to draw. Hey, model, how are you? Good morning, or technically good afternoon now, at least for me. How are you today, model? Today is Marvel Day. I will be drawing the Human Torch, and that should go along with my thing that I'll be putting up later on the Fantastic Four from my book that I've been going through. So what's new, model? You can hear me, right? Been having audio problems the last few days, so cutting in and out on my audio. Get some coffee and I'll hop in with you and work. Cool. Audio's fine. All right. Start to use our tools. We've got all these circles. Why not use them, right? So we got a second person watching. Cool. Hello to whomever's come in the chat or interview. I am drawing the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four, or attempting to. This arms out. So for whomever's here besides model, 316. This model 316. Feel free to ask any questions or comment. Maybe it's Manny, I don't know. 3 weeks off work, he's probably going to get situated into back into a routine at work, so he might not be here. Might not be him. Chest is pathetic. Hello, hello.
Hey, how you doing? How's it going, Rick?
It is going good.
Drawing the Fantastic Four, I guess.
Pardon?
You're drawing the Fantastic Four, I suppose.
I'm not drawing all of them. I am just drawing the Human Torch.
Very nice.
Because gonna be putting a video up a little later today with about the Fantastic Four and a book that I've been reading through. I'm not sure whether you've listened to any of it. I started before I went to do my live draw at noon about Christianity and superheroes. Making some parallels and all that. And there's a chapter on the Fantastic Four that I just went through, read bits and pieces at a time, and probably release it over the next week, between this week and next week. But I got to do some editing first, so.
You do some editing, video editing.
Yeah, take out the video that I put in and just use my audio and just put images of the Fantastic Four behind reading.
I see.
To make it look a little bit better, than just me sitting there reading a book. Although I try and make the reading as dynamic as possible.
You gotta read it in a British accent.
Oh, hey Kevin, how are you?
Hey, good, Rick. How you doing, man?
Good.
How are you, Kevin?
Good, sir. How you doing?
Good. I don't think we've met before, have we?
Formally, no. I think we've been on the stream together, but we haven't formally been introduced.
Oh,
yes.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Kevin is doing Apollo, Chariot of the Gods. He had an Indiegogo. It did not get funded, but he is going to be relaunching it sometime in the probably near future.
Yep.
Okay.
Round two.
Round two. Yeah. I'm I don't know if you can see my screen, but I'm working on my comic right now, and I'm trying to decide what to do with it. Like, will I try to do an Indiegogo campaign, or am I going to actually just try to do something with Patreon? So I'm not entirely sure.
How much do you have left to finish it?
To finish it, I've got. I just finished the first chapter, which is 22 pages, and to finish it, it's going to be between 100 and 120 pages.
Okay.
So
there's a lot of people leaving Patreon right now.
I know that's kind of one of the things that's making me also hesitant is that because of the whole business they did with Sargon.
Yep. So what would be your reason to go to Patreon? What were you looking to get from Patreon that you wouldn't get from Indiegogo?
Well, I guess the thing is that I don't have a fan base, and I know that with any crowdfunding you really need to have a fan base. And by doing Patreon, I can build the fan base as I'm going along. With Indiegogo, you really need a fan base before you can launch something. But I have trouble believing that people are going to want to invest in an unfinished project right now, especially when I don't have any credibility, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that's mainly my thought behind it. I'd love to launch an Indiegogo, but I feel like if I did, maybe I'd just end up not doing well.
How many pages did you say you have done of what you're doing?
I have 22 linked, and I'm fixing. I'm going through it now. And I'm doing sort of like my post production. I'm fixing some stuff up. Like this page here was okay, but there were some problems with it, so I just decided to re-ink it. But it was already finished. So yeah.
But you were talking over 100-page book, and you've only got 20 pages done so far, right?
Right.
So you've got a while to build up a fan base before you do the Indiegogo, because you probably want it 3/4 of the way done before you go to an Indiegogo, I would suggest the book. That way they're not waiting, a year to get the book.
Yeah. I mean, you could do both. You could do the Patreon and the Indiegogo, honestly. I've had a Patreon for several years now, and unfortunately it's not doing very well, but I don't promote it a ton on social media. I got a ton of content on there, but I don't promote it, and I just couldn't ever get traction with it. It didn't seem like.
Right. Well, I mean that's in some ways where I am. I haven't really gone out and tried to promote it, but I guess my feeling is that if I go, is that I have the same problem whether it's Indiegogo or Patreon, is that if I'm not promoting it and I'm not developing, I haven't developed a fan base, then whether it's Patreon or it's Indiegogo, it's going to fail.
Well, yeah. I did pretty good on, even though my campaign didn't fund what little social media presence I got through Twitter and so forth. Got, I raised about $750, and that was from not really doing any, podcasts or anything like that. It helped a lot to go on these guys' streams.
Yeah, and of course, whenever you have your book on Indiegogo, I'm going to bring you on and go through the whole ordeal. Hello.
Rick runs you through the ringer when you go on his show.
Oh yeah.
But it's all for the good.
Sure. Well, look, I've done one Indiegogo campaign before, and I used it to raise money for a printer. And my goal was I think it was $500. And I raised the money, but after I reviewed it, I realized that pretty much all the money I raised came from people that I already knew. So it's not like it was so I realized that just like everybody had been saying, you need to have a group of people who you can count on to support whatever project it is you're doing. Unless it's just something, phenomenal, or you have you already have a hit, some sort of reputation. So I don't know, maybe you're one of those guys who already had a reputation or something.
A little bit. But honestly, just promoting and talking on Twitter and in the CG crowd got a lot of coverage. I got a couple from Facebook, friends and family, but sure. Most of them were from just people who saw it on the Facebook pages and the Twitter pages, and a lot came from the live cast too, live streams.
Okay.
It wouldn't hurt. I would say do both, honestly. You could offer different things in Patreon versus what you're going to get on the Indiegogo. You're kind of selling your progress on Patreon.
Right. And that's the positive for it.
Yeah.
The thing is, Patreon is always ongoing. It's even after Indiegogo. It's there to, give you extra money for whatever. And give me a sec. He's been in the chat a bit. I'm not sure whether he's still here. Hello, McGee. How are you? I hope you're still here. We're still watching. Hello. We have with us a model just popped in again. He was in and out there for a second.
My headset was unplugged, so I shut it down to restart.
Okay, and we have with us Halal. He is in Israel, and I'm not sure what your book is. What's your book's called? It's not out yet, but obviously.
Inner World?
What world?
Inner World.
Here world?
Inner.
Oh, Inner World. And of course we got Kevin who had an Indiegogo called Apollo, Chariot of the Gods.
Yes, sir.
So obviously Hilal's doing something from his book there, it looks like.
Yeah. I'm re-inking a page that didn't turn out very well. You're not fine, but in fact, to be honest with you, Rick, it was so long ago, I'm not entirely sure when I started reading, but for some reason I did.
And what are you drawing there, Kevin?
New promo art for Apollo. Trying to come up with some new stuff for the Indiegogo campaign.
Cool. What are you doing there, model? Oh yeah, and go ahead, model. Sorry.
I'm working on the last prototypes for these paint racks. I'm just about done.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
I saw the photos. It looks really neat.
I have to design a corner unit. So far, I've not come up with anything that I really like. Unfortunately, corner units are wasteful of space, and I'm trying to overcome that. And I'm not innovating anything that anyone else hasn't already tried so far.
Not sure whether this is a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, so far, it's a bad thing, but I'll figure out something.
I tell you what, you should innovate. You should innovate us a nice, awesome comic rack or comic spinner rack.
Yeah, I mean, that could definitely be done. That's not a problem.
I've been looking to find one, and I cannot find one that's in a reasonable price range. They are
Oh,
expensive.
like the old metal wire racks? Yeah, they're up there. They're in high demand.
That's what I'm guessing they are. I mean, geez Louise, these things are ridiculous.
I would think even to fabricate new ones, I think it would be a relatively expensive process.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fabrication.
Yeah, it is. Gotta find a cheaper material.
Most of them I would have, they're probably just galvanized or coated or powder coated steel wire, but still you have to set up all the bending brakes and then it has to be all tack welded. So it's probably a fairly labor intensive thing. Stuff like that, it seems like in the past, it was a lot cheaper to do because of the, salary ranges. But now that salaries have kind of caught up, you aren't seeing a lot of things like that.
It's a shame. I'd love to get my hands on one.
Yeah, keep your eye out there. I would imagine. I used to go to, there was a drugstore and a grocery store, and they were constantly throwing out racks. They just throw them out back by the dumpster, and I picked up a few like really good things, probably that were very expensive to buy, and they just toss the stuff out there.
It's a shame. I like to go to a comic book store that would be closing and buying some of their stuff, but I feel bad at the same time. I hate to see the stores go down, but there was one in my town I should have took advantage of back when they closed a couple of years ago. They got rid of all kinds of stuff.
Before I left for Israel, I went to go visit an old childhood comic book store, and they had closed the business. They basically switched operation from being a comic store and selling other stuff to being they went totally online, and they only dealt with like collectibles. So that's how they survived.
Oh, the brick and mortar places have been going downhill for years. People have to realize that it's all online now, or you got to start focusing on a lot of online sales to kind of compete with these other places.
Well, they're all going to, like a small wall of comic books, and then 80% of the store is Funko Pops and
right,
like Magic the Gathering, and that's what they're having to do to stay open.
Yep, yeah, it is. It's a shame.
But over here, they're opening comic shops over here in Israel, and they're actually they actually opened 2 new ones this year in Haifa. One of them is totally like funny enough. All the comics they have there are from the 90s, and but everything else is just like collectible statues and gaming stuff. And then so it's like that. The other places mostly like manga stuff. The mangas, I really see more manga anymore than anything else over here.
Well, that's like
manga is killing American comic books right now.
Yeah, they are. It's something,
which is really a shame because comic books are such an American institution. Sorry, Rick, but it's something that really needs to be preserved. It's a very valuable and legitimate art form.
But my feeling about this is that I think number one is we have the big two largely responsible for for this problem. And I think the big problem is that the nice thing about a manga is you can get a manga series and know it's going to end, know that whatever happens is going to have some impact on the characters. And that makes it more interesting automatically.
Well, that and the identity politics it has to go.
Yeah.
They're going to have to come to that conclusion on their own because convincing them hasn't worked. And so probably just the loss of revenue is what it's going to take. I don't think they'll let those companies close completely, but for the time being, they can, because of the movies and other properties, they can stretch it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They'll only go so long until they start making some changes, though. They'll have to. I mean, then again, they may not even care. They may not say, you know what, forget comics, let them die out. We'll just do merchandising and movies.
I mean,
and that is possible. I mean, that's really possible,
Yeah.
which is fine. What they're doing is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
The art style's terrible.
The stories are just garbage. I mean, you think the stories back in the 90s were cheesy, but at least they focused on the stories back then.
Yeah.
Those are fun times. Extinction Agenda and Inferno Saga. Just don't care anymore.
Hey, there's new companies starting up all the time.
Yep. That's a good thing about it.
You know, I go into a comic book store and look at the stuff that's out, and to be honest with you, the reaction is I'm just bored. I look at the stuff and I cannot get excited about the stuff that's out. And as much as I want to, as much as I really want to buy something, I've made trips to, which is like a 2-hour train ride for me from here, and come out of a comic store with things. And I just couldn't bear to buy something I didn't want to read.
I don't even know where to start. You know half the stuff's going to be garbage. So you start like looking for indie titles and just new content altogether.
My problem with indie content though is it's invariably just like it's like graphic and you know it's always like the most negative stuff that is what they tend to focus on.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
I'm a visual snob when it comes to comics. The story is great. If I really want like a great story, I'll read a novel.
Yeah.
I mean, the art has to be good for me to even go past, the cover. If the art's bad, I just can't get into it.
I agree. That's also a problem. I mean, ever since I became an artist, back when I was a kid, I didn't care. But ever since I got into doing artwork, I look at it and I go, oh, the cover was fantastic, but this artwork inside is terrible.
We got some comments in the chat. JP4 says, hey. Avid comment reader says, pronounce it correctly. Ma.
I knew somebody on me for that, and usually I'm careful about how I pronounce it. But I just can't bring myself to care right now.
Basic Japanese is pretty easy. The vowel sounds are always the same. They never change. A is always ah.
Yeah.
E is always e, or I'm sorry, E is always eh, and I is always e, O is always o, and U is always oo. So it's easy to figure out basic words. And there's no inflection on words. So like Americans will say, I got me a new katana.
Right.
And there's no inflection on words. It's katana.
Yeah.
So Japanese is fair. It's more like computer code, really.
It's because Japan doesn't have an Alabama or Georgia.
That's right. And if there's multiple vowels or consonants together, you have to sound them both out. Although to a native speaker, they kind of blur things together. If you have an A and an I together, it's IE.
Okay.
No, I'm saying, and I can read Hebrew all right, but man, I just cannot. I mean, I spent so much time lost myself trying to pronounce it correctly. I mean, the way for an Israeli, like we have different ways to read it, and then different ways of pronouncing it. And it wears me out. The last thing I want is a second language to worry about. It's
Anyways,
manga because I'm too lazy to call it anything else.
anyways, he also says, I do love me some manga now. I want alternative release some manga. McGee, it's McGee. My shop works with local theaters. We've been doing very well. Oh, that's good. Drawn talks in the chat and he says, yo, 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 indie comics. For me, it's a hit or miss. And he says, I buy them and sometimes, most times, I regret them. But
Yeah.
the ones I do love, I love. McGee says, after a comic book film gets out, they have a booth in the lobby where they sell products from the store.
Yeah, that's very smart.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. That's very good. Yeah.
And John Tuck says, agree, art ruins it for me. Story could be great, but that art can ruin it.
The thing is that the thing about a comic book store, though, is there was kind of a culture, like a comic book culture. You got to participate in every time you went in there. You know, you had the all-know-it silly person behind the desk who was an expert in all things comic. And, you know, you get some people who are kind of, you know, like your people. And I remember back in the days when you could never find any girls interested in comics. Those were the best days. As much as we you know, complained.
Like the classic Simpsons character, the comic book guy.
Right.
I love those guys.
That's right. Oh, yeah. I mean, and the stereotype was so true. You know, the comic book store I went to when I was in college had the comic book guy. Went to as a kid had the comic book guy. I mean, the comic book guy is the. I mean, I don't know if they clone him or what they do.
We had a hobby store. Well, I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for 12 years, and there was a pretty popular hobby store there. And there was this kid that worked there for years. I pretty much watched him grow up, but he was such a hobby snob. Guy used to crack me up. He was an RC guy. So, you know, you'd ask him a question, and he was just like such a snob.
Let's see. Epic Comic Reader, he said this back when we were talking about how to pronounce it. Please explain to them how to pronounce the N for manga. And then he says,
well, the A is the important part. A is always like father, manga.
And then he says, selling comics at the theaters is the best idea.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. Good God, even if you had like like the Roach Coach, the food carts, just sit out there in the parking lot with one of those with comic books.
Right. Yep.
Then McGee says, indeed, I'm a projectionist part-time and they sell me everything that they bring with them. And JP says, was his name Model 316? Not sure what that's referring to.
Oh, is that the world famous JP4 in the chat?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, he's probably at work. Probably at work. That's why he's not in here. But we are caught up with the chat now, finally. For like about 10 seconds.
About to throw my Cintiq out the window. I can't get this hand right.
I like it. It's pretty dynamic.
It's the middle finger is getting me.
So the drawing's giving you the middle finger?
Yeah, the drawing is giving me the middle finger. You are correct, sir.
Or is it more accurately to say it's not giving you the middle finger?
What is
but you wanted to give you the middle finger.
That's right.
Kevin, can you tell me what your book is about?
It's a story. It's a classic superhero story about the world's greatest superhero cast into space, powerless, imprisoned, and fighting his way to get back to Earth after 20 years and trying to save the Earth. It's become a dystopian wasteland.
Cool. That sounds like a fun book.
Thank you.
What's you tell me some of the names of the characters? Like what's the name of your main character?
Apollo is the main character, and what right here, this guy with the mask, that's Tyrant. It's got a limited character base right now, but it's mainly focused on Apollo, and then it's going to expand out to the other characters in the universe on the next series. So you got Apollo, his wife, his son, Tyrant, and his friend, his alien friend that he meets up with in prison while he's in space prison.
Huh. Cool.
JP Ford says infamous, that he's infamous. And he's saying, is it a Canadian Shield in it? Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe one day there might be a crossover, but not anytime soon.
Hey, there we go. You know, friends from the north.
Yeah.
Canadian Shield doesn't share space in a book.
He will. He's got to team up with the rest of the people that are going to be the Holy Warriors. So, you know. But that's enough for like a year into the thing. Year and a half into my comic verse. Once I actually start going good, anyways. Yeah, I don't think there's any other heroes that appear in his book over that year and a half. No.
Check this out, JP.
Oh,
Hopefully my camera will show a lot.
that's awesome.
Oh, cool.
So I'm doing all the different bottle sizes. I've got the 2 Tamiya sizes. And then the eyedropper size bottles.
I like how that turns.
And you can invert the bottles. There's all the way through, because I like to put them upside down every now and then just to let the pigment shift.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can just says, and this is kind of like a personal thing of mine. If I have a paint rack, I end up pulling out 50 bottles of paint, and then they're all in front of me in a mess, and I never put them back in. But this way I can take out the whole, like I can keep all the primaries in one thing, and I can just take that thing out and bring it in front of me. And put everything back in there and then stick it back in the rack. So you can put them straight out. Well, you can really go at any increment of 45, but you can have them straight out or angled or straight up.
Are you making that for yourself or for like to sell?
I'm going to sell it as a flat pack kit.
Okay.
And then I've got all the shelf organizers. I've got a 3-drawer unit, a 6-drawer unit. I've got the tool caddies. Oh, I'm almost there.
Sounds good.
But I've got, because I'm a sculptor and a model maker, so I've got like just crap everywhere. And organization's a serious problem. So I'm got all these things, and they all interlock, like they all stack. So the key is into the next one up.
That's very cool. I like that. Heck yeah. What is that made out of? MDF?
MDF and hardboard.
Okay.
I really don't like MDF, but I think it's okay for this, because if I went to I originally looked at having either a mill down oak planks for me to 1/4 inch, and it was going to really add to the cost. I mean, like massively. So I think I figured it was like at least 4 times more expensive for material. So that's pretty significant.
Yeah, that is quite significant. But you can you said MDF, but with that you can color and stuff too, customize it, right?
Well, you can. You could definitely paint it. There's no issues there with painting. So what I wanted to do is have something that I can, because really it all comes, I think I've pretty much cut everything out, but all the parts come on like a sprue.
Oh, okay. You just break them off.
You can just pop them off or cut them off, and then so everything can pack in a 12-inch box. That was kind of my goal, to keep it 1 foot.
Mm-hmm.
So everything can pack flat. You can get a whole organizer in like a 12-inch, but maybe like 2 or 3 inch tall box.
Yeah. Just slide it all in there. You ever do any stuff for like I do comic conventions every so often, and my biggest thing is organizing for the table and having enough space and rack space for books and stuff.
Well, and something like this could be easily changed into a tiered. That wouldn't be an issue, because I'm doing this. I'm cutting these out with CNC, so it's really like whatever I want to do, I can do. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing the files, and then building a test shot to make sure everything fits.
Okay.
So I got a question, model. For those digital models that you're doing, say on when you're on the fan edition a few times, doing a quick one just like that. How much do you charge normally to make one of those for somebody for a character?
Well, it really depends. If you want the model outright, like you just want me to do the model and then send you the file, it's a little bit more expensive, because I have to charge you basically for an end user product. If it's something that you want me to produce and do copies of, then I usually work with you a little bit. Because once that model file is gone and out of my hands, my potential to ever do anything with it is diminished, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense for sure.
If I do, the majority of the work I do is still with clay or wax by hand.
Yeah.
So what's it take to have a miniature or a character done? Do you have to have a 360 view of it to be drawn out, or?
In most cases, I'm good with like a front and a back.
Okay.
It's just so I can see what is actually on it. I like to have a 3/4 if possible, but a nice like a front, side, and back is pretty standard for taking concept art and developing it into 3D models.
Okay.
But you don't always have that. So ideal, I would say, if you can get me a front, side, back, and a 3/4, then I can do anything with it.
Okay, let's see. We got a little bit more stuff in the chat here. JP4 was saying he wants one of your paint things. Group it for countries for armor. I guess he's saying from the wood. I'm trying to figure out how to profit from this. PS Melters in the chat says, party in the chat. McGee says, hey, PS Melter. JP4 says, I have a sawmill. Melter says, hey, it's McGee. JP4 says, have a book rack. Make a book rack. Can you make a book rack out of that wood?
It can make anything, really. I just have to draw it. So then I've got the 3 different things for the different paints. Fortunately, I was checking. The medium Tamiya bottles also fits with all the Createx bottles and like the acrylics from art stores, like the Apple barrel colors and things like that. So everything's cool.
You need one of those you can actually have a crank on it and just kind of roll it around. You can like spin it on the side and it just rolls your paints towards you. Got a little carousel.
Well, I have 2 carousels that I already did that. I kind of made a design. Let me see it. I'll be right back. I'll show you. There's a problem with it. It's nice. It's not useful.
Okay, and let's see. Epic Comics Reader says, I'm watching Godzilla 3 on Netflix. That's a series. Can we try not to have language like that in chat? There may or may not be kids watching this at some point. Movies 1 and 2. You could have left it up, Abbott. It's just I don't mind the slip every so often, but I'm just. JP saying, you guys on tonight or tomorrow? My channel. Oh, possibly for me.
So I've got 2 of these, and they're just absolutely slam packed full.
Oh wow!
And it's
Wow.
nice. It's nice to have everything coordinated, but you end up spinning and spinning, looking for colors, and then you end up pulling a bunch off, and then they all end up on the desk. So it's nice for like, because I have probably like 500 bottles of paint kicking around here. So it's nice to have like a place to put stuff that you don't use that often. But as far as like organization, it's really just good to get the stuff up vertical and out of the way.
Yeah. Well, that's a serious rack right there.
Well, I've got 2 of these slammed full, and then I have those plastic shoe boxes, like those Sterilite containers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Full of paint.
Shoot. I would get overwhelmed with all that paint.
Well, I used to paint professionally. I used to paint wargaming miniatures professionally. That's when you were asking about conventions. I did a lot of conventions where I'd just go and demo for companies and paint on the spot.
Oh, okay.
Those were always fun.
Oh, yeah.
I always like to get the you'd always get like the one guy who would like sit there forever and ask a million questions, and I love those guys. I found them to be the most fun.
They definitely keep you busy,
Yeah.
And they ask all the right questions for everybody else.
That's
Sure.
right.
Yeah.
So I know you're saying it's a different charge, depending on what you're doing. But how much is the charge for, say, just a digital model?
In general, about anywhere from a week to 2 weeks is about normal. So if you want to, and it really does depend on the character. Like I'll never give anyone even a ballpark without seeing their artwork, because you could have just like a guy standing there, or you could have a guy with like 13 tentacles, and of course that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm more talking basic guy. Because I'm more trying to think of getting a better version of the Canadian Shield model done up. I just took that off of, I scanned in a action figure and changed it a little. And I don't got the best 3D modeling skills, so I was trying to.
I mean, if you want like a really high-end, well-made model, plan on like 1,200, 12 to 1,500.
What if I don't want a real high-end?
What he's saying is, what can you get for $59.99?
Well, put it this way: you're paying someone for a week and a half to 2 weeks of their time.
Heard it? What if I want a quick one like you did, or almost did on those things, like a 2 or 3 hour version?
Well, I mean, we could work something like that out. I don't like to put out work like that. Like I would never release those models. There's a lot of problems with them, with the topology and.
Yeah, because I'm not looking to like pose them in anything or whatever. Just the static pose, is all I'm looking for it at the moment, anyway.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I don't like to give prices like that out in general, because it always leads to problems. Always. Yeah. I hate to say it. Because then someone will say, well, I heard you say on this show. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I get you. You don't want to, get any further problems on the road. So it's more, talk to me in private. We'll figure something out.
Oh, I had somebody come to me one time, and they said, I don't have a lot of artwork yet, and I don't have any capital. What can you do for me?
Say good day, sir.
Well, that's what they said to me, and I was like, well, yeah, that is kind of a problem. I mean,
I'd be like,
First
"Well,
things
that's the whole problem."
first. You gotta have something you can show me what you want, because otherwise you're gonna have to pay me to design and do your concept work.
Oh, that's always it. I've got a great idea, or how much would it be to make this? I have nothing. Well, what's a good starting point, sir? That's a good starting point. But you just shake your head, is all you can do.
I've got a little bit more than nothing, at least drawing wise.
I'd love to have some miniatures of my
Yeah, and
character.
Rick, I'd work with you too. I'd help you out. It's something we can work on the stream and stuff like that.
Yeah. I guess the only reason I'm wondering is because I would like to have a better model thing for when I'd like to offer that figurine type thing for when I do my thing, and I'd like a little bit better one than the ones I have. Because,
well, the way you really want to do that is if you want to go digital, you want to have the master printed, and then you want to reproduce the rest in traditional methods, either like resin or because it's not cost effective to print everyone.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay $200 or $300 to have a small figure printed.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean, because my library, this here, I can go get this printed probably for like under $10.
Is it, well, what kind of printing is it? Is it the filament printing with the
I think
spools?
I think this is the filament, but they do have their resin one. Last time I knew, I haven't been there in a while, and so it might cost, instead of $10, it might cost $30. So then
it'll probably cost a little bit more, because you're looking at, for something like that in resin, you're probably looking at like a 12-hour print time, and the resins for those printers is about $200 a liter.
Yeah. Well, they were charging. They charge like 10 cents for the filament, and then they charge like 30 cents. I think this is per milliliter.
Like per millimeter, probably.
Yeah, and they charge 30 cents per milliliter for the resin. So I'm just calculating 3 times the price. So, but then again, it might not be quite as hollow, so that might be a little bit of a difference too. There's probably a whole bunch of things that I'm not factoring in. So,
well, the good thing about libraries is they're not hitting you with a huge markup. But if you're gonna do like a product that you want to make available to your fans, you want to make sure it's nice.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly why. If you look, even on the back here, it's got all this hollow, just like really not good. There's no detail on the hand, stuff like that. The body, this hand is just pathetic here. That's why I'm thinking about going, better on it, and trying to figure out, the cost. So that way, like I said, when I go to do it in thing.
Oh, if I do it for you, it'll be very well done.
Yeah. Well, I figured it'd be well done by you. I'm not.
I'm kind of curious because I've thought before about having like a figurine or something made that I could use for like for Indiegogo or something like that. But it sounds like from what you're saying is that it may not be so practical.
Well, the thing is that for to do a one-off on your desk, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay a lot for it. If you do multiples, then your price starts going down.
Okay.
Per each one. Does that make sense?
Sure. So how much would it?
Because what you would do is you would print either. Well, I mean, and I do traditional sculpting as well. So, and sometimes depending on like this was something I did for a commission not too long ago. It was a little guy that was holding 2 guns and he had mechanical legs. And sometimes it's more cost effective for me to do it by hand.
You might want to put it over. I couldn't see that quite myself. Okay, yeah, that's better.
So he's just a little dude, and I made silicone molds and cast the copies in resin. So if I think about it this way, if depending on the complexity of the object or the number of pieces, if I can sculpt it in a week or 2 weeks it's going to be cheaper than me digital sculpting for a week or 2 weeks and then still having to pay the print price, because afterwards you still have to make the molds and make the copies.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you can cut out that time and the print cost. And I still prefer to do traditional sculpting, but I had to learn the digital. It was pretty much a necessity.
Now these are not figures you can wear. These are like more or less like solid blocks that are have been sculpted out. They're not like action figures, right?
Well, you can do action figures. You just have to you have to engineer it and sculpt in the joints and the points of contact. It's the same process, really.
But it's more expensive, though, right?
Yeah. You should plan on more, because there's a little bit more thought that has to go into it.
Yeah.
But if you do like a He-Man type figure, what you basically have is you have hooks on the end of the arms and the legs, and there's big rubber O-rings,
right,
holding them together. So it's not that complex. The thing is that you have to, as far as like with a static figure, you can cast it solid. With an action figure, you have to cast like the torso hollow. So there's a little bit more involved in making the molds.
Well, maybe I'll contact you and talk to you about this offline, because I'm curious about how much, what price, and it may be unrealistic for me to do it, but I mean, I'm trying to figure out things I can do for my Indiegogo campaign to raise money, and I also like to have something I could just sell.
Sure.
Even,
Yeah, and it would be something good for your tiers if you can factor in the cost of doing it into your campaign. You theoretically you can do it without a lot of out of pocket. You might have to front some, or
sure,
in a worst case scenario where your campaign doesn't succeed, and then you have to kind of absorb some of that cost, or if your campaign doesn't make a lot of money.
right.
That's the thing. Most people think, well, if I just want one, it should be cheap. Well, it's actually the first one you make is the most expensive one.
Yeah, you got the most time involved in that one. The rest of it is just basically resin or printing them. So it's just cost of materials at that point.
Right.
I mean, it's just like getting anything printed. I mean, you're gonna, doing a one-off is going to cost more than, doing like 500. So.
Right. Think of a concept car that Ferrari makes, where it costs $4 million to make that one car.
Right.
Because everything has to be done. All the tooling has to be done for that one thing.
Yep.
Right.
But I am going to. I'm kind of brute forcing. I had an Indiegogo campaign that failed miserably. It was kind of like watching JP4 play World of Tanks. It's just fire and explosions.
It can't be no worse than mine.
It was bad. It was really bombed. But the campaign was to buy a very nice resin printer, SLA and a DLP printer. I wanted to actually buy 2 different ones because they have different purposes. And that didn't go through, but my idea behind doing it is sound and it's viable. So I'm just going to brute force it. If I have to make these organizers and sell those to people and do other jobs, I'm going to buy these printers. I just need to get together about 15 grand disposable income.
Are you still going to make the tiers that were on your campaign? Because I donated or pledged like 20 for the 6 coin.
Yeah, I'm going to still make. Yeah, that's interesting. I've talked to a few people, and I've actually kind of floated the idea that at this point we didn't have that many backers. I think I had 15 backers total. That I could do something else for you guys if you wanted something more useful, or if you wanted. I even told some of the people, hey, if you have a character and you want a 3D model of a character, I'll do that for you. It'll just take me some time to sit down and do everything for everybody, but there weren't that many people involved. Now, of course, if one person wants the coins, then I have to still make them. So,
what you mean by 3D, like 3D character, just a 3D image of the character?
Well, the model.
Oh, the model.
Yeah, and then
so then you
want to have it printed, you can go have it printed.
Okay, gotcha.
So there are some things, but I'm going to do this with the printing. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I totally understand that. I'd like to still get the coins. I don't have anything made up for my character yet. I like to. I mean, I've got a buddy who's got a 3D printer. He's kind of getting into it. He could probably print the plan, I guess.
Well, I wanted to add. So I was going to add for tiers. I wanted to do I was looking at like 1.5 or 2 inch tall figures of the characters.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to have like a foot tab where they could like clip onto the coin and use the coin as a base.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
But I don't know. I really thought that I would get a lot of support from the artists, and unfortunately,
Well,
at the same time,
I was thinking about it, but I didn't have the money at the time.
I vaguely remember you being on someone's program and talking about it, but I mean, I had just gotten into the whole thing and was like, "What's this about?" And it was a lot of the Indiegogo campaigns. I was sort of a wait and see how it's going, versus like pledging.
sure.
And then the project not coming out. And I mean, look, if you had something like an Indiegogo campaign where you could make something attractive to someone who could use it for their own Indiegogo campaign, I mean, I'd be very interested in that because I mean, something cost effective. I don't know what that would be, but I mean, who doesn't want to have an action figure statue of their characters to sell?
Sure.
No.
Yeah, and I was going to do it via Patreon, and I was kind of I was talked into doing it on Indiegogo rather than Patreon. I should have done it on Patreon.
Yeah.
Your timing couldn't have been worse, though.
It could have been. I could have launched in January, but
No, I mean, you launched it right when Comicsgate kind of fell.
exactly.
That was like the worst ever. It was like as soon as you got it up and going, I pledged. It was like EVS. I'm out of Comicsgate, and then the Dagon Foundation fell down.
Well, and the infighting, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that'll calm down a little bit. I think everybody's kind of on the same page of that. It was during the summer. It was very nice when everyone was getting along and.
Yeah. Well, IndieCron is starting to tie that back together, I believe. Pixel Trader and those guys are starting to pull it back in, and I think we're going to be back on the same page here pretty soon.
I think the nice thing will be we get more people really coming together for these different projects. That was one of the things I liked about it was that I saw all these different creators, ex-pros and others were really putting together all these different projects, and I mean, just helping each other out. That was really attractive because it spoke nicely of the spirit of what.
And there's some unbelievable talent within the community.
There is.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got Tales Beyond the Gate coming out with an anthology that's going to be going to Indiegogo pretty soon with a bunch of guys from Comicsgate.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of new projects coming out. That's the thing. As long as we keep projects coming out and getting fulfilled, Comicsgate will continue to have life, I believe.
Yeah.
I wish I was a numbers guy because I would set up a distribution center.
Well, I'll tell you that.
Something that would be so mind-numbingly boring to me as a creator to have to keep track of all the numbers and the books and the addresses, but somebody enterprising will come up with that, and it'll be a very good thing for them.
Well, let me tell you, just from my standpoint, living in Israel, but having more than likely the market's going to be in the States.
That could actually be
Very hard for me to manage. How would I manage that? And
well, yeah, you would have to rent a physical location somewhere in the States, which that would probably be the best because that's where the bulk of your business is going to be. And preferably if you were in the central United States, somewhere like Chicago or somewhere like that, to just rent an office, and you'd have to have space for books, and you would basically be a distributor.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And of course, I'm not going to do that, but I wish somebody else would. This would be a business I hope someone else takes upon themselves. Because,
sure. You could act as a fulfillment center and everything. The printers would send you the cases of books, and you would have to do fulfillment. Somebody will do that.
IndieCron is kind of talking about that. I think they were Pixel Trader was talking about that's something that's down the line for them to get more involved in the fulfillment aspect of the comics and stuff. So it's something they're definitely thinking about.
Yeah, Pixel would probably do good at that because he's kind of he's aligned with keeping all that information together and
yeah.
The Comicscape Fulfillment Center. You have a couple. Either you have a couple rooms in the facility itself or whatever that creators can come sleep there for a couple days while they sign all their books, that they have to sign, unless they want to stay in a hotel or whatever nearby.
Yeah, they could definitely do something like that. Be a good business for someone. I know I'm not up for it. I'm not organized enough for something like that.
Me either.
Well, there's no way I'm going to do it. I'm here, but I think it's a great. I mean, given the way things are going, someone's going to realize that Diamond is not going to be able to cut for the independents because Diamond probably doesn't care.
No, they would opt out. They wouldn't even agree to do it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all just a political thing. It's all nonsense, really.
Right.
Well, see, that's adding an extra thing for the Comics Fulfillment Center. Because, like you said, if people need to sign these books, they need to go there, sign them. You need to make sure the creators are comfortable, for that day or two that they're signing, unless you have somebody like Ethan.
Well,
if
you've made a couple $100,000 on your book, you can go sign. You can get a plane ticket and go sign. It's your job.
Yeah.
At that point.
And the fact that you most likely got a room there waiting, that you can stay in for the week, that's sort of, or comes with the fulfillment,
Yeah, you don't have to worry about stuff like that.
I think the next step's going to be doing comic conventions when the Comicscape.
Rick just wants to make sure there's a nice place for him to stay. When he
Hey, you can't hate on that.
No. And then I do think that at some point we're going to need conventions. At least a convention somewhere, Atlanta, New York, somewhere.
Well, that's already been being talked about for 6 months almost.
And then you're going to have to really organize things like security because there'll be fringe lunatics.
For the first couple, I think, and then there'll come a point where I think it dies.
Yeah, I feel sorry for somebody to come up on my table and try to start something. I really would feel bad because that ain't going to play out.
That's why I would always say if you're going to do something like that, do not have it in New York. Do not have it in California. Have it somewhere like Atlanta or somewhere where people don't do that nutty stuff down here. I'm in Atlanta, but you do not have Antifa protests here. You do not have that nutty stuff going on because people just will not stand up for it.
Yep, I'm the same. I'm right above you, so I know exactly how it is. They tried to pull that stuff up here, and it was one of the most peaceful protests they ever had. There was no issues where in my state. They just know better.
What did you say your state was?
Tennessee.
Yeah, that stuff just doesn't happen down here. People don't get sideways.
Nope. No, they don't.
I lived in Nashville for about a year.
They got a little crazy in Nashville. They blocked the roads on the highways one time, and that was it.
I do remember that. I remember seeing that on the news.
Did not last very long.
No, I think that they just started hauling people away.
Yep. Because it's illegal. It is illegal to block roads, public access points. It is illegal without some permit from the city to do that. And for me, honestly, get run over. You get in front of me on the interstate, I'm going, and you're trying to block me. I'll try to miss you the best I can.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
I mean, I don't really want to feel like fixing my car, but yeah, you might get clipped. But that's a good thing about the South. They don't really have that problem. But you find a lot of these places, usually a particular political alignment, they don't have those issues.
Texas did that for a while. Then we had the weird thing that happened with the Dallas police. I was in Israel by that time. It was strange to hear about that.
It's insane. People are insane. But
People are going insane in the States, I think.
what's that?
I said, I think people are going insane in the States.
It's the water. It's something in the water.
It's the frog water.
That's right. It's the saltpeter in the water.
I will be right back, fellas. I'm gonna go get some coffee.
Yeah, I'll be right back, guys. I gotta grab me something to eat. I'll be right back.
Okie dokie. Yeah, that's how I might do it. If I do it on my campaign, make it a stretch goal. 25,000 opens up the tier of figurine. Or action figure.
Oh, it's after 11. I need to go put my kids to bed.
You're going to put your kids to bed?
Yeah, I'm probably just say goodnight to you. So I'm here, take care of the little ones.
Uh-huh. Have a good night and good morning when you wake up.
Thank you. And it was good being with you. It's been a while.
Yeah, sorry about the last time that
Oh,
you were here. Somebody
well,
got a little bit out of control.
I don't remember last time.
With Rizzy or Risey.
Oh yeah, I got a little annoyed. I like Crazy a lot, but I did get kind of annoyed with that whole thing because it's like, but it was my fault because I forgot it. I don't celebrate New Year's, so I totally forgot about it. And so when I got on there, I was like, going, "What the heck is this?" So that was really more my fault because I wasn't paying attention to what was going on. But
Yeah.
see, I at one point early in my life, I lived with an alcoholic for a little while, and I mean, it was such a terrible experience. I was like, man, I just don't like being around people when they're drunk.
Yeah. I've been around them quite a few times. I've never been drunk myself. I don't drink, so.
Sure, yeah, me either. I mean, Shabbat wine and little stuff like that, but I don't really. But we shouldn't be virtue signaling here, But
Yeah, well, I'm not virtually. I have nothing against Rizzy. He's taken himself off my list, but I'd try and put him back on if he didn't take himself off right away.
No, I like Rise a lot.
Yeah, same here. I've got no problems with him.
Well, like I said, it was my fault. It was New Year's Eve, and I just didn't think about that, and I should have just not gone online that night. So anyway, okay. Well, thanks, Rick, for having me on. I appreciate it. It was as always.
Yeah. Anytime, as always, too.
Okay.
Looks like I might not get to Voltron today. Well, Metal's back.
I'm back.
Hillel says bye.
All right.
He had to go take care of his kids before bed, so.
I take care of my kids.
Thing is, he's way over there in Israel, and it's bedtime for his kids. So I'm like, here in the States, where you guys in the States, me in Canada, not so close to bedtime at the moment. JP4 says he's mostly listening. What's crackling? That was what's his name? Model.
So me crackling?
I thought it was.
I hope I'm not crackling.
Well, you were. I think you were when you came back in, but.
Oh, just putting on the headset.
Yeah. Or moving around in the chair a bit, maybe. Those ducks.
It was 65 degrees here 3 days ago, and now it's like 40 degrees.
That's what I was getting ready to say. It's freezing in my basement right now. Who was talking about doing a convention, Rick? You were saying they were bringing that up.
All the big names were.
Okay.
I'd
love to do one.
Somebody, they apparently, if I remember it, somebody was some rich guy was even willing to pay for it or whatever. I'm not sure exactly of all the details. I forget.
Do they indicate which convention they were wanting to go to?
No, it was going to be a just fully Comicscape convention.
Oh, like hosting a straight convention, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that ain't cheap.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
I mean, I thought about just like, doing a vendor booth at a convention.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would just get turned down, unfortunately. Maybe not.
I don't know how it would be here in Hamilton to have Comicscape stuff.
Some of those people like, Mike Miller, they've had issues with, as soon as they announce a Comic-Con, then the professionally outraged do a email campaign to try to intimidate the promoter or the organizers.
Yeah.
Or they get death threats like the Brightwisers. It's really ridiculous.
I think that only is in certain conventions, though. I think the bigger ones, like you're saying, New York and California would probably have a problem with the smaller ones, like Lexington or Dragon Con or anything like that. Probably wouldn't have a problem with it.
Well, if I remember, according to Mike, he ended up not going to Dragon Con because their security is very lax.
Oh, was he getting death threats or issues at Dragon Con?
No, he didn't get any threats, but still, if you remember from Jeremy, he never got any real death threats, but some guy at the bar afterwards came and, did that whole thing.
Yeah. That's just ridiculous.
So with their security not being very good, he didn't want to take any chances. Let's put it that way, nicely.
Yeah.
He thought there wouldn't be any real problems, but at the same time, he didn't want to.
That's why I say do it in Atlanta. Because about a dozen 45s would come out and be on anyone that tried to pull any crap.
Got to pack your heat when it gets cold.
I'll go do security.
Yeah, I would too.
I would sit around and do security. That's not an issue.
And Mike has said many times, it's not like he couldn't defend himself, most likely, because, you know, he's got martial arts
you
training.
don't want to. I mean, especially in some of those towns where, I mean, they'll jack you up for defending yourself. It's outrageous.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I can't do any conventions until I get this daggone book finished.
Oh, you can. You can sit there and draw your book while at the convention.
Oh, I did that one time when I did the book for a small press, and it took me forever to get that book finished. I was doing conventions and everything else, and just that wasn't the main problem, but I mean, it was harder for me to get it done.
Yeah,
I love doing.
I guess it depends on how busy you are at the convention too.
When I painted at conventions, I got very little done.
Mm-hmm.
Overall,
you spend most of your time talking to everybody.
Yeah, you're looking up and you're talking and
you're pushing product. If you got a book to sell or something like that, or product, commissions you want to sell. You're not really getting any work time, man. If you are getting work time, man, then you're not doing it right, because you should be talking to people and networking while you're there.
Yeah.
That, and I also do everything digitally, so it's kind of hard for me to take all this junk with me.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that.
So you liked your fan art picture, Rick?
Pardon?
Do you like that fan art picture I made for you?
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking of doing earlier. Let's see, to show everybody. I might need you to send it to me directly. I was gonna color it.
All right.
But,
Gotta see what I want to do. WeTransfer here.
because,
I'll send you a high res of it.
Yeah, because I downloaded it off of Twitter. Actually, I've downloaded it a couple times. I downloaded it once the other day when you first put it up there, and I can't find it. But maybe it's because I was looking for it as its self or what, a JPEG image, but it wanted to say it as a large JPEG image. So I had to bring it up in AI Illustrator, and it's not quite as good as what I don't think it should be. So
do you want it as a
JPEG?
JPEG?
Pardon?
Do you want it as a JPEG?
PNG would be nicer if you can, or something that I can. The lines are nice and smooth and all that. That way I can do anything to it. Well, not anything. Color it.
Yeah, I can see it.
For PNG.
That's fine. I can do that.
Yeah. Here's for people that haven't seen it. Power Man, as I was saying, I might have to use this version. I do like the upgradedness to it. Although that pack. What are you going to say?
I was going to say, well, you were saying that he's more of a 50s, 40s, Rocketeer kind of character. So I was thinking his uniform would be more almost like a material, not like a spandex.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking too. But the only thing you didn't do was bring the have that whatchamacallit thing. Yeah, I'll show you. If I can. I can't find my picture. My character.
Do you have an email address that you want to give over air to me so I can send it to you? Or?
Yeah, it's easy enough to find my thing. Rick Piper at crosscomics.ca. That's on my website, so anybody can email me, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to dox you or anything. At crosscomics.ca.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. This is it right here. Yeah, that's it. All right, I'm sending you a Wii transfer file, just that way you can download it.
Okay. Power. Oh, figures. Thought I redid him. Or I haven't gotten to him. Comics.
Yeah, I like drawing. That was a cool character. I had fun drawing that.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking he wore spandex either.
Manny was thinking you were going to tear it apart.
It's just the only thing I see is you probably forgot these things right here. You know I guess the shoulder things there.
I did. I was wondering if he's going to catch it or not.
And maybe the other thing is, I can't.
Yeah, I missed the fins too. Shoot.
Other than that, I don't mind the way that you did the gun on there.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was good. I like the backpack, actually. It looks better than mine, obviously. And that backpack, another character in the main, in modern times, is gonna end up using it too. So.
Oh, okay.
Because not to probably spilling too much. This guy is the grandfather or great grandfather of my character, the Wiz.
Gotcha. He feels like a G.I. Joe character to me.
But villain. This villain. To it.
Now, you going to print that off and color it traditionally, or you're going to digitally color it?
Digitally.
Nice. Okay.
I'll film myself doing it too. I probably won't do it on air, but I'll make a video of it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I sent you a high res PNG, so you can do whatever you want to with it.
This character here, Stumper, she's like a relative, cousin or whatever of the Wiz, an older cousin, and she gets her hands on the backpack, the jetpack, and makes herself into a supervillain.
Okay.
Actually, she might get a bunch of the technology. As you can hear, she's sort of got the same type gauntlets. She's got the fins on the one side.
Yeah, I gotta make sure I put the fins in there. I can't believe I forgot the fins. I was even using that character reference. I was like, what am I missing here? And I totally missed it.
Yeah, but the way Manny does that is because the first time he did something. I wouldn't say I tore it apart, but went over it on air before I even knew him too, eh?
Yeah, he told me you just ripped with a new one on that one.
I wouldn't say I ripped him. I'm just
on stream. He was like,
I wasn't even ripping him. I was just telling the audience. Okay. I didn't even know that he'd be in the audience. I was just telling the audience, yeah, this is great. I love it. Blah blah blah. There are a couple things wrong with it, just because
Brutally honest reviews.
yeah.
They're my characters. I love them. So, especially the Holy Warriors are like so near and dear. They're the characters that I've been working on for like the last who knows how long.
Hey, those are your IPs. You got to take care of them, right? Nothing wrong with that.
And the fact that he drew them wrong, I had nothing wrong with that. He doesn't know them as well as I do. But I'm just making sure in that showing it to other people that they know that this isn't the true representation. And Manny's probably listening right now.
He'll bring it up later, I'm sure. I'll tell him that you're talking trash about him on your stream. No, I'm just kidding. He showed the cover. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. I showed it the next day on my stream. So, my next live stream, I showed it. I had no problem.
Do you have to edit it before you showed it?
No.
To fix it.
This one I don't have a problem with. So what are you doing over there, model? You priming your pieces?
No, I'm just gluing these together. I got one more after this, and then I can start taking photographs. So these are basically my test shots, just to make sure that all the files are accurate and everything works. A couple of things to make little minor changes on, take a few thousandths here and a few thousandths there. Apparently my table saw fence is off by about a 32nd of an inch, so I need to go in there and check that as well.
Oh, see, I can't do any of that stuff. It's too specific for me. I'm horrible at like that kind of stuff. I wouldn't have made it as a carpenter. I'd have died probably. I'd have been freezing to death. I never would have built a house or anything like that.
You'd be a measure once, cut 5 times kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm a measure nuts, regret it 5 times kind of guy. Even if I do measure it twice, I still am cutting it wrong.
Probably I did that last night. It was late. It was probably 1 o'clock in the morning. I thought, I am just going to go cut these blanks. And so they're ready in the morning. And I cut like half a sheet, and they're all the wrong size.
Yeah, that's me. I got to buy like 4 or 5 different pieces of wood just to make sure I get something somewhat correct.
Well, I didn't want to go and walk the 10 feet over to look at the punch list just to double check the dimension. That would have taken too much time.
Yeah, that'd have been too easy, right? Yeah, if you're down there in Atlanta, you're down there with a buddy of mine. You heard a guy of Jason Flowers?
No.
Oh, really? He does a lot of the conventions. He's a big artist.
Okay.
Does Dragon Con like every year. He does all the cons. It's pretty much his full-time gig. But I kind of figured you might know him.
I haven't done a con in years.
It's been a couple years for me. I think it's like 2015 last time I went. Last time I presented at a convention.
I would say definitely 10 years, but
wow.
Well, I had a stretch of a lot of work that was under NDA, and I still can't show any of it. So it's like, well, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
That's a bummer when you end up with like stretches of a couple of years at a time of nothing you can really show public, because sometimes things don't even come out, or they get changed so radically that your design process or your prototypes aren't even, they're completely different, or they never came out.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of really cool things that were done for Disney that still have not come out, but the photographs are so awesome.
You can't show them, huh?
No, and that's one you don't ever want to mess around with.
No,
with the NDAs,
especially not with Disney. They don't care about suing anybody. Very protective of their IPs.
I've been C&D'd by them before.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Dang. Is it over something you were doing just for yourself?
I was doing a 1/24th garage kit of the ARC 170 from Revenge of the Sith.
Oh.
And I had posted some progress shots of the patterns, the vacuform patterns, and some of the pieces that I had milled out, and I got an email. You'll see, and that was shortly after they were bought out. So it's like, yeah, that's good enough for me.
Well, they probably got you on a watch list if you've done any work for them, I imagine.
Well, Lucasfilm used to be pretty cool about garage kits, like model kits.
Mm.
If you weren't doing your packaging and you weren't going around advertising Star Wars, this, that, if you were just putting a kit up there and it said, Starfighter, and it, was pretty vague, and as long as it was well done, Lucasfilm would generally leave people alone. So were a few people out there that got access to some of the original models and were able to take molds off of some of the original parts.
Yeah.
So like for a few years there was a company called Anagram that was doing an unbelievable Star Destroyer garage kit. And then there was Captain Cardboard that had pretty much the most accurate screen scale X-Wing fighter that you could possibly make. And a lot of those things molds were taken of the original parts. And those guys, they got away with it for a long time, but not anymore. Anagram got completely shut down, which is a shame, because that Star Destroyer model kit was unbelievable. It was expensive. It was I think it was like a $900 kit. But
was it a very big kit?
I think it was like close to 3 feet.
Okay. Huh.
I never built one. I always wanted to, but I'm not much of a kit guy, so I scratch build mostly, or do one-offs, patterns, and things like that. And whenever I try to build a kit, I start off really good, and then I'm like, this is boring.
It's you not having to figure it out yourself. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I haven't built a kit or a model in 15 years probably. If not longer.
I haven't for quite a while, but I used to do a lot of masters for wargaming, and I need to start pursuing that again, because that really was a lot of fun.
You said you were doing that professionally?
Yeah, I did. I did masters for the Babylon 5 tabletop game, and I did some Starship Troopers stuff. Did a lot of historical World War II and things like that, mostly for companies over in Europe. It's still really big over there.
I've been seeing a lot of people doing paper miniatures, printable miniatures.
Yeah, there's some really neat stuff out there. That was really popular in like Russia and Poland.
Oh, really?
All the paper modeling.
Yeah.
And then I would say just because, you could, everyone had access to a printer. You could, buy these PDF files from these companies like GPM and print it. They'd print it in full color. And then people started, of course, there's always the level of quality goes up. And now you start to see some paper models. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like these old steam engines and stuff or tanks and ships. There's a piece of software called Pepakura that will allow you to take a 3D model and unfold it. So it'll take the individual faces of a polygon mesh. You can unfold it. The software has gotten pretty good. The latest versions, you can basically take a tool and pick where you want the seam, and then it'll unfold it and it'll put tabs on the mating sections. So it's very easy to do like character models now.
Oh, really? That's cool.
It's a Japanese company.
Huh.
Of course.
Of course, yeah. They that's you gotta love them. They're always about making the minutia of everything, going the extra mile.
Yeah, I do love what the Japanese do. Their model kits, their figure kits, their tools. The tools are unbelievable.
Yeah, they probably make some of the best models. I agree with that 100%.
Well, I don't know how modeling made me remind me of this, but because of me hitting 250 earlier this week, Saturday I am having a giveaway. Well, triple giveaway actually. I'm gonna give away a sketch card. Person can request whatever character they want. I'll draw it live on air. Do a 9x12, I think it is, and something on this size of paper as well.
You should give away that Sky Dome. Autograph it.
It's tempting, but it's not tempting at the same time. It's not like I can get another one easy, and my first time ever doing that, so it's sort of like, ooh, I'm taking a little bit of pride in this thing.
Guys, I'll be right back. I gotta throw that pizza in the oven. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Pizza's a good idea for today.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, it might be a good idea afterwards. Turn down the stream a little bit. Got a pizza store right down the way. They're half decently cheap. We're gonna get a cheap pizza, $7 pizza, small pizza with.
Do you have the same like delivery chains up there?
Well, probably
Pizza Hut,
some.
Papa John's.
Papa John's, no. Pizza Hut, yes. We probably got a couple of you don't like Pizza.
Mm-hmm.
You guys got Pizza?
No, we don't have that.
Okay.
I love ordering a pizza. I hate paying that delivery fee.
Oh, most of the places here don't charge a delivery fee.
Yeah, they charge like a $4 flat delivery fee or $3.75, something like that. Then you got a tip, and then after tax, you're almost paying as much for those as what the pizza was.
If they're charging a delivery fee here, most people won't give a tip because that delivery fee is for the driver. So at that point, they don't deserve a tip, in my opinion.
Yeah, here they don't give those delivery fees to the drivers. It's for their insurance. And I've talked to the drivers before, and they all say that it really hurts them because a lot of people don't tip. And they don't get any part of that delivery fee.
Oh,
Just a bummer for those guys.
for sure. I don't know whether that would be the same here or not. But like I said, I'd say 95%, maybe more, don't charge the delivery fee here. But then again, we've got a lot of smaller chain pizza stores too. Well, I wouldn't even say small chain, just, some mom and pop type delivery store. No name pizza store.
Acme Pizza.
Acne pizza, that doesn't sound very appetizing.
Acme Pizza.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Acme Pizza would be disgusting. I agree with that. That's some pimply pizza.
Be a pimped out pizza.
Ugh. Yeah. When is the drawn and quartered fan edition? I heard it the other day and I just couldn't remember it. I'm horrible.
I think it moves around.
Well, no, now it's on Chester Busby's channel. 3 times out of the month, and then it's on the last week of the month, Thursday of the month. It's on one of the people's channel. Actually, I gotta see whether I can try and get it on mine this month.
I'd like to get on it.
There's last time I knew. If you wanted to probably get on it tonight.
Yeah, just message Chester.
Oh, okay.
There. Chester or Pixel?
Or Pixel Trader, yeah.
Here, let me check.
They have a Discord that they put everyone in, and they have like a lobby and where you can get all the info.
Oh yeah, I'm in that Discord. Yep, that's right. I should check that, shouldn't I?
Right now, so all you have to do is these things that you want on. Got everything blocked.
Go on and get my butt whooped.
It's a great exercise. I like doing it. It's that good stress that really pushes you.
Well, I wonder what they're going to be doing tonight.
What did they do last night? Red Sonja on the drawn and quarter. I think that I didn't watch last night. They were doing like classics.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that Mike.
Yeah, but
yeah, they did a Red Sonja. That's my weakness is drawing women.
Yeah, but Chester was last night. But
we're losing you there, Rick. You went robot.
Oh, sorry.
Unless I did.
Okay, yeah, there's 2 spots open, so you could get in there and let them know that you want on.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to wait a little bit, make sure I can do it. I don't want to jump on there and my wife give me all kinds of grief about, So I was live streaming until like 4:00 in the morning the other night. Oh, it was a rough day. Might try to get in at the last moment.
Yeah, like I said, there's 2 spots open at the moment, so.
Oh, you ever get that feeling you just don't feel like drawing or creating anything? You just feel like you're in a dead spot?
Yep.
Yeah, that's me right now.
You're thinking about food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm watching my timer. I've got 13 minutes till the pizza gets done.
I'm not a bad Human Torch, I'd say.
What was that, Rick?
I said not a bad Human Torch I did here. Just see what I put in the colors in that pack.
Yeah, I'm starting to think about food now too, and then my mind is wandering.
I was starving there for a minute, and I was like, I've got to do something.
Okay, well, it's 10 to 2, and I usually go only about an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending. I didn't get any Voltron done today.
Oh, Rick is thinking about food.
But
I'm to blame on that.
I think I got a very good Human Torch done there.
Yeah, you cracked it out, man.
All of a sudden, everyone starts drawing pizzas.
The pizza stream.
Human Torch kind of looks like a pizza.
He does. Like a cheese pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, Josh Hughes. That's not nice.
That's not Joshua Hughes.
Well, that's true. He's an imposter.
And Joshua Hughes has a real big problem with him, too. He comes in and times them out.
That's what was it the other night? We were on the stream with Manny, and people kept muting Manny during the stream. And asked him a question, and they mute him. Oh, it was so funny.
Yeah, I lost my wrench the other night.
Oh, you did?
In Manny's stream, yeah. When we were suggesting names for Delilah.
Oh, that was you? Oh,
well, I wasn't Raven, but
yeah, he was not liking those names.
John goes boo. Oh, okay,
I still thought Delilah Does Dallas was pretty funny.
I thought so too. That's the one that lost my wrench.
Oh no. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's classic, you know. I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Well, I think Raven was already pushing it.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, geez. Look what Doug has
Dumpster
started.
Delilah.
Dumpster Delilah.
Look what Doug has started. Not Joshua Hughes. Draw him peeing on his legs. That'll be good.
Would he put himself out if he
Put himself out, yeah.
Oh. And that didn't even look really a lot like Red Sonja in the face, in my opinion. But he won, all because of the pee effect. Oh, the depravity of us humans.
It's awful.
We are a sick breed.
Okay, Kevin, you want to show for yourself there? Tell people where they can find you.
Yep, you can find me on Twitter under Kevin Stewart or Stu the 62 or Apollo Novel.
Cool. And Model
316 on Twitter. That'll work. And then I have a YouTube channel. JP and I do a show a couple times a week where we just build stuff and talk nonsense.
Cool. And of course, I am Rick Piper of Cross Comics. You can find me here on YouTube as well as Instagram, Twitter, Facebook under Cross Comics as well. And we'd like to thank you all for dropping in. And we shall see you tomorrow. Bye for now. God bless. Have a great and wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you guys.
See ya.